Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hello.
My name is Vivian Fonseca. I'm the director of the Professional Development Core for LA CaTS, and I'm at Tulane, professor of endocrinology and assistant dean for clinical research. Joining me today is Dr. Dan Kapusta from LSU. He's the co-director of the from LSU, and another co-director is Amanda Staiano from Pennington. Let me tell you something much more important about Dr. Staiano. She's a former roadmap scholar. So if you want to be inspired today to where you got to be, just look at Dr. Staiano. And you have Michelle, who's your resource. She's a research navigator. So any questions she'll help you with, not just for the application, but hopefully one of you will get this, and she'll keep helping you for a long time to come. So let me give you a little background about the Roadmap Scholar program, and then we have received some questions, and we have some frequently asked questions that Michelle has put together. I'll try to address those, and then take questions from you. So all you have to do is unmute yourself towards the end. I would say you could raise your hand and Michelle will identify you. The only problem is, Michelle, I don't know how to raise my hand on the new Zoom. So I hope the rest of you can do that. You can, maybe you can show it to me sometime. I'm glad to see so many of you. So first of all, LA CaTS is what is called IDEA CTR. It is like a CTSA, which are designed by NIH as programs to advance clinical and translational research. So it's clinical and translation science. So that's what this is about. And translation is a very loose word. Some people think taking a finding in one cell into two cells is translation. What we're talking about here is really getting into clinical practice or into populations. And keep that in mind when you're putting your work together. Now, you don't have to be a translation scientist or even a clinician to apply for this. If you're a basic scientist who has some important findings that you want to advance and take into, or an epidemiologist, or any non-clinician who wants to take your research into clinical practice or populations, this is for you. And that's what LA CaTS is about. IDEA CTR is not a CTSA. It is meant for states that have small populations of researchers. We're not Massachusetts or New York or California. They get all the big money. Congress felt this was unfair and created the IDEA CTR program, which is run by a different agency at NIH and NIGMS. And so it's a little different. It's meant for smaller states. And we are one of them. There are 13 states like us who have these kind of programs. And I would say that we are one of the successful ones. You can go to the LA CaTS website and look at our successes. And one of the key successes has been our roadmap scholars. I'm very proud to say that. We have had several people go through the program and complete the program and go on to doing clinical and translations research, getting further NIH grants. So that should be your goal. And this program is designed to help you. NIH has several stages in the career pathway, and you should consider this to be a very early stage. An independent researcher gets R01 grants. A step before that are career development awards, such as the K Awards from NIH or the Career Development Awards at VA, and other organizations like the AHA, ADA, Cancer Society also give career development awards. So our roadmap scholars are even earlier than that. If you got a roadmap scholar, your next step should be to get one of these career development awards. And we count that as success. And we are proud to say that many of our roadmap scholars have gone on to be successful in getting K Awards, and some have got R01. So you can shoot for the stars and get it. So that's possible. Others have got it. So just to put it back again in context, we've got this award after a competitive grant application. And what's written in the grant is what we've got to do. So bear that in mind. There's some things where our hands are tied. And among these things that NIH has done, it's not just with us, it's also with CTSAs. They want you to not just do research, but to learn how to do research and learn how to do it properly. Learn the basic principles of doing research, how to apply it. It'll make it easier for you in the future to get it. Now, my predecessors, or our predecessors, wrote into this grant application the first time around that we would have a training program, a degree course, a master's in science with clinical research. And Tulane has such a master's program, and that is incorporated into this grant program. Along with that, we want you to actually have hands-on research. So all the roadmap scholars have to do research with a mentor. So it's mentor-supported research. The program protects 75% of your time by paying 75% of your salary is paid to your institution, and then your salary is paid. Now, it's 75% of what they deem to be an appropriate salary, and what the government considers a salary is not necessarily what they will give you 75% of. So if you are a very special doctor earning $1 million a year, don't expect $750,000. It won't happen. I can't give you an exact amount, and it varies based on institutions, but it's somewhere close to 120 to 130,000, and then the other 25%, it's between you and your chairman and your dean as to how you earn that money. So it's challenging for people in highly paid specialties. I'll say that up front, but your dean and chair might say, we need this person and we need this research. It's very important. We'll support the rest. So bear that in mind. The other thing is it's for faculty. You have to have a faculty position before you start this. And this is a common question that we get asked. I've been promised a job. And when you go in to look and read what was promised, the promise was, well, if you get this grant, we'll give you a faculty position. That's not what this is about. We want to see a faculty position, a letter from your chair and dean to say, no matter what, Dr. X is going to be on the faculty July 1. Now, if you don't get the grant, that department is on the hook for your salary. You got that job. And this is a source of lots of confusion because chairs think, well, let's get some money from somewhere. This is an easy, low-hanging fruit. It is not. You will not get it. And bear one thing in mind. This is competitive. We run the competition. We select, and I'll tell you the process in a moment. And then we have to get it approved by NIH. They will not approve it if you're still a postdoc and don't have this letter attached to your application. So you've got to be.
This is really important. Dr. Fonseca is highlighting where we consistently have issues every year, and we want to make sure it starts with you understanding this. It is partly your responsibility if you're allowed to submit this application, right? Because you have to work it out where your money's coming from and find your mentors. But it has to be worked out that you are going to be, regardless whether this is funded or not, faculty. You're going to be faculty.
And we used to say, and it may still be on the RFA and the website, that you have to have this letter saying you will be on the faculty July 1. We have taken an internal decision that we are going to give preference to people who say June 1, because last year, times past, we've had problems. People start on June 1, they want their salary, and they don't have the faculty letter. So there was some delay. There was some bureaucratic snafu. We don't want that to happen because it jeopardizes you, not us. So just make sure, those of you who are not already on faculty, that you have this available. So let me tell you the process. We have the RFA out. We're having a couple of meetings like this where people can learn more. Michelle is available to answer any questions, and those who still have further questions, please email me and contact me. I'm here over the holidays, and if I get an email from you, I'll consider it a holiday present that you're applying. I'll be very happy. So don't hesitate to reach out. You then put in an application. What's the deadline, Michelle? February 1 or?
2.
February 2nd, Monday,
February 2nd. We're giving you one extra day, okay? Your application's coming, and you got to have your institutions support LA CaTS. It's not all money that comes from Washington. Tulane, LSU, and Pennington put in some money. So people from other institutions can apply, but then we expect your institutions to make a contribution. So if LSU Shreveport, for example, made a contribution a couple of years ago, but didn't do so, they have their own reasons, and we don't want to go into that. The same happened with Auctioner or some of the hospitals. Anyone in Louisiana can apply. One of our goals written in the grant is that we want to increase the research workforce in the state of Louisiana. So you getting this grant helps us achieve that goal. But we still have to pay that 75%, and the money has to come from somewhere. So if you're from one of these three institutions, no problem. If you're from another institution, please go to the people who write the checks there and say, will you support me? And we are constantly talking to other institutions about supporting their junior faculty and clinicians and so on to do research. We will then take it from there. They do their bit. It happens sometimes, it doesn't always happen. So anyway, so in general, most of the applications come from these three institutions. We want to be fair to you. So if you're from LSU, your grant will be reviewed by Tulane. You might say that's unfair, but actually people try to be as fair as possible. And I'll tell you what we do next. You'll get your scores, you'll get your ranking, and then we send it for a second review to somebody to the LSU people. Now, there are very few people who can review. They may not be people in your specialty. That's okay. Bear in mind that your applications, and we'll teach this on the course. You need to be clear that anybody should be able to understand the basics of your grant, what it is about. And the emphasis should really be on your training and yes, you got to have a research project, you got to have a mentor. And so that is the process. Then we take all those scores together. We have a meeting of all the reviewers and we rank people. We will choose one from each. Well, we don't make the choice. We rank them and we give it to the deans. The three deans will choose the three from their institutions. We have had at times 4. In the past, we've had 4. We might get 4 again, but as you may have heard, money is very tight in all these institutions right now. So I'll be pleasantly surprised if we get money for the 4th, but it could happen. We could have 4 if somebody finds the money. And some dean might say, well, we got 2 outstanding people. I'll pay the 4th. I'll pay for the 4th. I hope that happens, but that'll be Christmas. Then there's one step further. We then send this 3 selections to NIH, and they have to approve. So all this takes time. That's why we are talking now for something starting in July. We need you to get all set by... And by the way, our top selections, we will have a personal interview with you via Zoom. And then our selections, we'll have it not just with you, but your mentor. So let me explain the role of the mentor. The grant pays 75% of your salary. I have already told you what that means. And then it doesn't have money for your actual research project. That has to come from the mentor. So if you have a mentor who has a grant and has a lot of money in the grant, that should be paying for the project that you will be working on that. So your mentor should be happy. They're getting you for free, virtually for free. But they have to provide, you want lab chemicals, you want clinical project, whatever lab tests are needed, whatever needs to be done has to come from there. Your mentor will get a small amount of money, I think something like $10,000 or so for their sort of participation and, but it's not going to support the research. And there's another bit of money for your travel. And it's not traveling to some beach resort, it's to go to a meeting. And there are 2 meetings you can go to with that. There's really sufficient funds. One, it may be in your specialty, and the other is there's an association for clinical and translation science. They have a meeting once a year, and they're all people like you attending this meeting. It's a fairly large meeting. I think alternate years it's either in Washington or somewhere else, and sometimes the Washington meeting is very interesting because we've included visits to NIH, visits to Capitol Hill. You can go and talk to your congressman or senator and say, "Give us more money. We need it in Louisiana for roadmap scholars." If you can do that, that would be great. But so there's no other money, and people often grumble, "Well, I wish you'd given me more money for research." This is what has been funded in the grant. Don't ask me for money. I can't change it. This is what it is. We'd love to have more. We'd love to give you more, but this is what we've got. So keep your eyes open on that when applying, and talk to your mentor about that. And again, before we give the final approval to the candidates, we have a meeting with the mentor as well. And if you may have 2 or 3 mentors. We'll have the meeting. We'll explain all this to them, and they have to agree to it before we can select you. So is that all clear?
Fonseca,
yeah.
You might want to reemphasize that although it doesn't have money attached for the research, just think of the amount of money that this award is. It's the salary savings. It's right, the 75%. It's the payment of the master's program, which other people can take, right? But if you're not a roadmap scholar, you have to pay for this.
It's so Tulane tuition. That costs a lot of money. Anybody who's ever applied to Tulane or has been to Tulane knows how much that costs.
It's quite a bit of money.
Yes. So that comes for free. Now, there's a little trade-off. You got to attend the classes. You got to do little exams. You got to pass, not just pass. Tulane has a requirement for, if you're in any Tulane master's program, you have to get at least a B+. Now, you all look very smart. I'm sure you'll all get A+, but sometimes we have problems when people get a B-, and we don't want that to happen. So be aware of all these things. And I get people grumbling, "Well, I know everything. Why do I need to go to class?" It's written in the grant. I didn't make this rule. It's written in the grant. You are expected to get the MSCR, and you're expected to apply for a K grant. If don't apply if that you don't like that. So those are the basic things about the grant. I think many people have expressed been very happy with the fact that they learn it. There are things that you may think you know, but if all of you know biostats, you'd better teach it to me. It's not easy. You will learn things. Epidemiology is a very interesting subject that most of us, like as clinicians, don't know. We do a few other things, and one of the things we do is, there are 2 very important ones. One is protocol writing, which I run, and you will take a protocol, and that could be the basis of your grant, and you will work for 3 months on writing that protocol to a standard where somebody could actually take that protocol and run with the trial. It has to be clinical and translation. And Dr. Kapusta runs a grant writing course, which is not a formal structured course. He does it individually. So each roadmap scholar will be developing their K award, will have some didactic maybe things with them, and then individual guidance on how to write that grant that you can use for writing your grant. So, and everyone who has done that has expressed a lot of satisfaction with that. There are a few things that people don't like to think they're wasting their time in classes about rules and regulations. I hate the idea of going to a class on rules and regulations, but I have to do it all the time. The VA makes me do it. It's research rules and regulations. You need to know that. So there are things like budgeting, how to write a grant budget. Again, people don't really know the little details about these things, and this can help you later on. So let me move towards the questions that have come in. Try to take those, and then we'll take questions from anyone else. Dan and Amanda, do you want to add anything to what we've said?
Yeah, so like Dr. Fonseca said, I did this program about 10 or 12 years ago, and it's considered quite prestigious among the NIH when you go to write your K award or whatever your next one is, because it's an NIH funded fellowship. It gives you connections to people outside of your institution as well. That's what I really benefited from. Some people are a little scared off by the master's degree. But like Dr. Fonseca was saying, there's some requirements, and those were carefully chosen to try to give you some really practical guidance for your research. And there's a lot of adaptability or customization as well. So you're able to choose electives among a menu of electives. And so that can help you fill in the gaps of your training and research. And again, this is what the NIH is looking for. Also, if for those of you who might live outside of New Orleans, if you're worried about the driving, I know that comes up often. There are some cases where it makes sense and it's desirable to drive and be in person for courses and meetings, and there will be requirements for you to do so. But a lot of this is also available online. And so
I would say 90+% is online via
so keep
Zoom.
that in mind in terms of fitting it into your schedule and your commitments, even if you do live in New Orleans as well. So it makes it a lot easier. And those electives too, some of them are synchronous online, some of them are asynchronous too. So you have some choices there. And then if you're thinking sitting there, maybe you're not faculty yet and you're not sure about getting that faculty appointment, it does this sort of writing for this sort of fellowship gives you an excuse to go have that conversation with your dean or your chair too. So if you're at that stage where you think you're ready for faculty appointment, this does give you something concrete to talk about with your dean. But if you don't feel like you're quite ready, knock on wood, I think this is what our 15th cohort or 14th cohort of scholars, and we'll be going in for renewal next year for the next cycle. So if all goes well, this will continue to be an opportunity each year. So if you don't feel like you're quite ready for it, you could certainly look into it for next year. But we do want you to encourage you to try to have those conversations and go to the next level. And then the final thing I'll share, unless we can move on to the FAQ or the questions, this really did help me in my career. So this came at a time when I was a senior fellow, postdoc fellow. I'm at Pennington, and I was ready to move into faculty, and this provided me that transitional time. And when I was on this fellowship, I was able to get an American Heart Association grant and aid. I was able to get a small NIH P&F award off of another center grant. And then it set me up to move into independence and start my own lab. And so in the past 10 years, I've brought in over $20 million in extramural funding from NIH and PCORI and other places. In my lab, I now have 10 full-time people working on a variety of different multi-site trials. So I say that just as an example of how this can be a critical time in your career to really focus on research, get your own grant funding, and you'll have access to mentors, myself, Dan, Vivian, your own mentors. You'll have, the content expertise mentors that you develop with your committee. But we're also offering our own guidance to you, from a variety of disciplines and different institutions throughout Louisiana, because we want to see these roadmap scholars be successful, some of whom will stay in Louisiana and build your careers here, and others will go elsewhere, but to continue that network of people who have really developed their careers here in Louisiana.
There are certain reporting requirements. We need to know for the next 10 years what you publish, what grants you get, because we need to report back on the success of your success is our success. And that matters.
One of our roadmap scholars, Courtney Peterson, she is now on faculty at Harvard in the School of Nutrition and she's gotten a couple of big RO1s as well. So there are a lot of really nice success stories out of this program.
And of course, there's Dr. Stajano right there in front of you. So the great success story. Can I just add to the thing about it being remote? Most of the classes that I control are at 4 o'clock in the evening, going on till 5:36. That's to help accommodate people who have clinical responsibilities and others. If you're working in a lab, you're doing a research project, hopefully you can stop at 4 o'clock and attend. And class is not every day. It's usually a couple of times a week through the year. There are some courses that and July 1 is two important things that we ask people to take in the summer. One is what we call, like, they call it topics in clinical research. I'm trying to get the name change, which is going through the bureaucracy, Introduction to Clinical Research. It's 10 lectures, 2 a week for 5 weeks, just on the introductory things that you really have to know. How to get informed consent, how to what are the important regulations you should know about, and so on. That is one. And the other is biostats. I recommend you start with that, biostats 1. And biostats and epi, I do not control. We've outsourced it to the School of Public Health because they know a lot about it, a lot more than we do. So we let them run it. Most of their courses are in the daytime. They like it in person, but we've got exemption for people who live out of town, like Pennington and Shreveport people, to let them do it remotely. We've had people from Baton Rouge who say, I enjoy coming in person once a week, and I will come once a week because it's worthwhile. So those may be an exception. And there's a 2-week biostats lab course. It's in person because you've got to be there working on the computers with our biostatistician, doing problem solving. That's not a large amount of time in your whole 2-year period. So there is some flexibility in all this. You must do biostats and epi and that introductory course before you can do protocol writing. After all, it's all based on that. So we really want you to follow that sequence. So we really need to start July 1 in order to do the spring protocol writing. And I've told you about the faculty things. Dan, do you want to say anything?
Well, you may actually get into it, but I think it's important when you're actually planning and working on your grant application. It's not just about your project that you're actually proposing. Clearly the interaction with the mentors and your career development plan. That career development plan is going to give us an idea of, you can tell us everything you want about what you've done in the past, but we can see that, right? We are interested in where you're going with this and what are your plans in the future. And obviously that may be a little bit open-ended because you're applying, you're going to do research and you're going to be applying for another K award or a K award or NIH grant, but we want to have a pretty solid idea of what's your plans with this career development, plan. So pay attention to that
You
part.
could have the greatest project, but if you don't have a career development plan, you should not be applying for this.
Yeah. So that is they will score that, right? It's not just your research that you're proposing. It's pay attention to that career development plan.
Okay, here are the questions that I'll go through them quickly because I've already talked about many of them. Number 1, how often do we give it? Once a year. How do I find out about it? Well, you've already found out about it. What about other scholarships and things? This is all on the LA CaTS website. I'd encourage you to go to the LA CaTS website and look at funding and training opportunities and so on. One little thing to add, even if you're not successful, you are welcome to attend some of the remote lectures. You won't get a Tulane degree for it. We won't charge you for it. We just need to know who's attending because we report that back to NIH. How many scholars are awarded? I've already told you 3 for sure, maybe the 4th. Who is eligible? Let me go through this very carefully. You should hold an MD, PhD, DDS, or PharmD, and be a junior faculty in one of 3 institutions: Pennington, LSU, and Tulane, or from an affiliated institution, and any other institution that's willing to join the consortium and provide some degree of that support. How much? I don't know. It may be the full amount today because there's not much. I don't control the budget, so I don't the LA CaTS budget. So if your institution says we'd like to support this person, here's what we can do. Will you accept that? And then it's up to the director of LA CaTS, Dr. Kerwin at Pennington, to decide yes or no. We want to see more applicants. We want to expand this throughout Louisiana. So people from other institutions can apply. We can discuss this, but there's this financial implication. One thing to clarify is that your mentors don't have to be from these three institutions. They can be from anywhere. We've had roadmap scholars in the past who have their mentors in Boston, another one had in Colorado. We encourage people to have maybe a secondary mentor who's local, whom you can go and talk to if you have problems, whom we can go and discuss issues should they come up. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes it can. So we just want to have somebody local that we can talk to and who may help you indirectly in many ways. Does the roadmap scholar need to have a faculty position at the time of application? Not at the time of application, but certainly at the time of decision, we want to see this letter. And at the time when you're applying, I think you should initiate this letter and get it firmly in place. One other thing that has come up in the past is, can people who are not citizens of the US apply for this? We don't have any rules and regulations for this program. But remember, your aim is to apply for an NIH grant, and then those things apply, those rules apply. You can only apply for an R01 if you're a citizen or have a green card. There are very many K awards, and you're not eligible. There's one K award. So you're greatly restricting the amount of things that you can show as a success. And we have to consider that and bear that in mind when we are awarding it. So if you have a really outstanding application, you're in the process of becoming a green card holder in the future, and you're willing to take that, I think it's a KOO or something like that, that allows people who don't or are not citizens or green card holders to apply. We will consider that, but I think the reviewers are aware of this as well. So this is not our rule. Again, these are federal rules, and we don't want to turn you away at the last moment. One other thing we said about having things all remotely, we like to have people in person once in a way. We need us to get to know you, and we need us fellows, our scholars, to get to know each other. So there are a few meetings a year that we encourage people to come to. So in March, or I think in February, there is the SSCI, Southern Society of Clinical Investigation. Very suitable venue for our scholars to come, interact with each other, and interact with other Louisiana faculty and other Southern faculty. So keep these kind of things in mind, and we hope that we'll have some in-person interaction. Prior to the pandemic, we did everything in person. That has changed, but we'd like to see you in person sometime. Let me get back to the questions.
And just one more point regarding that, Dr. Fonseca. Remember, even though that you're getting a letter, if you're not faculty, you're a senior postdoc and you're applying for this, that's fine. We'll consider it, but it has to have from your chair, your dean, a letter stating that you will be, faculty by July 1 of that upcoming year. But remember that is regardless of whether you get the application successfully or not. They have to understand that, right? Because a lot of times you may understand it, but it doesn't get transmitted to them. That has to be clear. Michelle and I and Vivian and Amanda, we right after the submissions, after February 2, we look at these applications. One of the very first things we do is home write in, if you're not already faculty, and we look for that statement, right? Because it must be faculty, you must be faculty regardless. And that's a lot of times that puts people out because the chair and the deans don't want to put you up. That's where you have to have the discussion, make sure you're ready.
Okay, when will I know about the decision? Usually 2 months following the submission deadline. All applicants will receive the comments from the reviewers. Some of them tend to be a little short, they're not detailed. This is not a big grant. They're looking more for, small things. Is this feasible? Is this really relevant to the local thing? And the most important, as I said, is your career development plan. award start date, July 1, and it's 2 years that you're in there, during which time we hope that by the end of those 2 years, you'll be applying for, have applied or be ready to apply or very much ahead in your progress towards applying. And are appendices allowed in the application? They're typically allowed for documents like reprints, letters, IRB approvals, but you can't increase your research plan by putting things, details into the, you can't, there's a page limit, you can't exceed that by putting it into the appendix. References are not counted in the page limit. Are biosketches required for each mentor? The answer is yes. The reviewers need that information to see whether you're suited for that mentor and that there's some synergy over there. Is the MSCR certificate available to scholars who are not supported by LA CaTS? Suppose you don't get it and you still want this degree course, you can do it. But bear in mind that if you really want that degree certificate, you've got to pay the Tulane tuition. People who are Tulane faculty can get around it by with a tuition waiver program. I'm not sure, and I don't think postdocs can get around that, but yeah, you may wish to find out about that. How do you apply? Do you need routing and signing? You just need to submit it directly. I don't think these grants need to be routed. You just submit it to careerdevel, all one word, at lacats.gov. Are there indirect costs? The answer is no. We don't provide indirect. We only provide direct costs. Do all mentors listed in the scholarship need to complete a separate mentorship agreement form? The answer is yes. Any consultants on the grant do not need a form, but the mentor, we need a lot of agreement for the mentor to say, yes, I will mentor this person. Funds are available for this project to be done, and so on. Would a medical school choose candidates to apply? We don't encourage that. We want as many applicants as possible from the program. So, for example, if you're from LSU, you don't need to get approved by LSU before you apply. You may want to discuss any questions or problems internal to LSU with Dr. Kapusta, and the same for Pennington with Dr. Staiano. But the more applicants, the happier we are. Is there a limit to the number of mentors on the project? The answer is no. You can have as many as you want, but as I said, having one that's local at least can be helpful to you. Are there restrictions on the number of years an investigator has been a faculty member to make you eligible? The answer is no. We don't put some restrictions, but if the aim is to get a K award next, there are some, I mean, we consider success if you get a K within 2 years after you complete this program. Every K award has some limitation as to how many years after your primary degree you can apply. So if you've aged out of that, you need to recognize that you're not going to be eligible to show success from this unless you get an R01. And reviewers and we will have to consider that when we are giving you an award. So if you've been on the faculty for a long time and cannot apply for a K, that is a problem. So I'm currently a senior postdoc in Dr. X's lab. I'm wondering whether I'll be eligible to apply for this award. I'm being considered for a faculty position. What information do you need? I think in a way we've answered that, but let me reiterate, we've got to have a letter saying that you are ready. We are going to give this candidate a faculty position before, I'm going to say here, June 1, and we want that letter to be submitted with your application. certainly, if you're behind, you say the letter's coming, you can put in your application, but you will not get the award if by the time we take our decision that letter's not available to us. And you also need to make sure that you've got all your other paperwork done, you have any visa issues all straightened out, everything done before we can say you are truly eligible and are being selected. Otherwise, NIH will reject it. The RFA states that applicants need letters from the mentors, department chairs, and dean. In my case, Dr. X is both my mentor and chair. How should I handle that? I think that's okay. One letter is good enough saying I'm the chair, but I'm also the mentor. I want to follow up to see if 11-point font is required for tables and figures, or is it possible for them to be 10-point? Tables and figures can be 10-point font. Everything else should be at least 11-point. I'm a research assistant professor now working as in a clinical center in a department. I would like to ask if I'm eligible. I'm holding a J1 visa, and I found that the eligibility for the K award, but not for this. It's only a K99 that doesn't have a green card requirement. That's true. So, the problem here is, yes, we recognize you could do the program and get a K99, but you can't get anything else. And that we have to take that into consideration when you're applying. Okay, a few other little details. There's a 3-page limit for the research proposal. 1 page for specific aims, 2 pages for significance, innovation, and research approach. So we're not asking you for a lot of detail. Bear in mind, within that approach, you've got to talk about your career development. What about preliminary data? Yes, you can put it in. It should be in there. It is supposed to be included as part of the 3 pages. But if you have preliminary data that's published and you want to put in, the full paper, that could go in the supplement. I've talked about external research mentors, so I won't go into that. Is there a requirement for maximum number of years since completion of PhD for applying? There's no requirement for when you apply, but it's what you apply for next that matters. And we are training you for any grants, but if it's more than 10 years since you graduated, you're not eligible for a K. Citizen requirements we have already talked about. It's only the K99 and the R00 that's open to non-citizens. If you're a clinician and doing basic research, you can also apply for a K08, but that's very few people. We used to have a thing called underrepresented minority applicant. We kept that as the 4th. Currently, NIH is not allowing that, so we're not including that. That doesn't mean underrepresented minority people can't apply for the grant. We encourage you to apply. It's just there's no separate extra position available anymore. So with that, let me open it up. Unmute yourself. Ask the question directly. If you want to raise your hand, you're welcome to. There's something, I see something in the chat box. Oh, yes, there's one thing I didn't cover. That's an important question. Are transfer credits allowed for the master's program? And the answer is yes. If you have done something elsewhere, you need to contact Michelle. She will submit it to the Tulane Basic Medical Science program. This is a bureaucracy. We have to get it approved by somebody else. We recognize that all of you are very well trained and know everything, but when it comes to actually getting through a university approval for something, you've got to submit it well in time. I wouldn't wait to get it applied. Check it now, and Michelle and Orion will help get it checked to make sure that you're getting credit for those. Okay, questions?
Keep in mind the applicants, like Dr. Fonseca said, and the projects are reviewed by the NIH. And so there have been restrictions over the past year about involvement with foreign entities. So I'd encourage you with your research project to really focus on US health issues. And even better if you can tie it to Louisiana health issues. But
Louisiana health issues get high priority.
we can't control the NIH level of review, so we'd really like to focus on the US.
The same applies in a way to a lot of topics that are currently taboo with NIH. Some words, there are substitute words, there are software programs that will tell you this word should not be in your grant and use this one instead. By all means, use that. Don't get knocked out at the late stage just because you chose the wrong words. That, again, it's not our rules, but just a suggestion.
We do have one question, Dr. Fonseca.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. The question is, should successful applicants expect to contribute towards tuition? Because I know sometimes the NIH.
None at all. The tuition is covered by the grant, so long as you're doing the courses that are within the grant structure. So I told you we subcontract biostats and epi. There's biostats 1 and epi 1, which is a prerequisite for doing biostats 2 and epi 2, which is more sophisticated and more knowledge. You may want to do that, but that will not, you can do that as an elective, but we don't pay the tuition for that.
Okay. Is there any out-of-pocket expenses required by the successful applicant?
Michelle. Okay, let me give you an example of a very important one. And that is to check your email for whenever you get anything, because now if you're not at Tulane, you are a Tulane student. So when they say, if you don't opt out of healthcare, you got to pay your healthcare bill and take Tulane healthcare. And this has happened to somebody who didn't read her email. So I don't know where you are. If you're at Tulane, you're going to have to answer this anyway. But if you're not at Tulane, you're at LSU, you're getting healthcare from there, you still have to pay Tulane healthcare as a student unless you opt out. All it takes is a checkbox. And more important than checking the box is to read your email.
Sounds good. I've got another question, which would be, is there any seniority requirement for eligible mentors? For example, would an associate professor qualify as a...
Anybody will qualify, even an old guy like me. There's no age limit.
All right. Thank you.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I cannot figure out how to do the raised hand thing on Zoom.
You're like me. You're welcome to my club. Go ahead.
I'm older than I look. The question is, if I think that I am close to being ready to submit a K application, but I'm just not sure that I will get the K award, is it still fair to apply to roadmap?
Absolutely, absolutely.
What happens if I do get the K award? I just automatically graduate out of the roadmap program?
There are a few little options here. So first of all, if you get a K award while you're a roadmap scholar, we will be thrilled.
We love it.
I mean, that's a success story for us. So may all of you get K awards in the middle, and I'll still be happy. Then it's up to you to do two things. You can't hold both. You can talk to your K program officer and say, I'd like to delay starting, which I actually recommend, because the moment you start your K, your clock is ticking. So here you're getting the benefit of both. You're carrying on doing some of the things. The K award also has a certain degree of training and career development component. You're doing that while someone other than the K is paying you. I think that's a win-win situation for everybody. However, the program officers say, enough is enough. You start on January 1. You just drop out. But you can do one more thing. You can keep attending the classes. That is up to you. It's optional. It's nice to get a degree that you started. The Roadmap Scholar program, however, if you're not, will no longer pay your tuition to Tulane. So I know you're from Tulane, so you'll get a tuition waiver. For those from LSU who are in that position, I've asked Dr. Kapusta to give you some money from the dean's office. I don't have an easy solution to that.
I will say some people have talked to their K program officers where they're applying and gotten them to restart the clock using the master's degree from Tulane as the terminal degree. You need to talk to the NIH program officer to make sure they agree to that, but I have heard that happening before.
Yeah, I just be careful that you get something in writing. Don't just
Yep.
talk, get it in
Yeah,
writing.
that's true.
All right, we have 2 questions.
Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Okay, I can ask first. Thank you for this session. It was really helpful. My question is, I'm research faculty in epidemiology at Tulane, and for the MS, I'm getting the sense that that is non-negotiable. We need to do an MS in clinical investigation. For like the biostats courses and the epi courses,
If you have done an MPH and done those courses,
Yeah.
that you don't need to repeat it. You'll get
Okay.
credit. So I would suggest somebody like you apply for an elective instead. Don't just not do anything. Say I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do an elective. Take something special. I mean, your time is paid for. This is your time to make use of that. And there's one little warning that I'll give you. The School of Public Health, it's the School of Medicine that is a partner in LA CaTS and not the School of Public Health. Having said that, we have never said no to anybody from the School of Public Health. And there are 1 or 2 who have got the Roadmap Scholar thing. It's up to the dean of the School of Medicine. If you were to get it, I will go and argue on your behalf with the dean. However, I don't always win arguments with the dean, so I can't guarantee you that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Or better still, get your dean to join the consortium. We'd love that.
Okay. And then my other question for the elective courses, would they need to be within the School of Medicine or could they be from?
It could be anywhere else, but remember that you will have to pay tuition. If say you want to take a course at Harvard, that's fine, but we will not pay for it.
Yes, but as long as it's within Tulane, that's.
You're on faculty in the School of Public Health, right?
Yes.
Then you can get tuition waiver for anything at Tulane.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm going to follow up on the master's question. Can one transfer credits from the institutions abroad? Say, for example, UK.
It's up to the people who do this kind of thing. I do not understand how they think or know anything about it. All we can do is pass it on to them. What I would say, get it checked right now through Michelle and Orion before you apply. Or after you apply, when you get it, you can cross that hurdle when you come to it. Worst case scenario, you're repeating it. If you get it, fine. It's not the end of the world.
I'm also under the impression, this is a second question, under the impression that K awards are limited for eligibility not beyond 6 years post PhD.
Yeah, some are up to 10 years. I can't remember. Amanda, do you know, or Dan, do you?
There's variability, and it depends on the type of the K as well. Right, so some of these clinician K awards are different. So I'm not sure if there's a standard across all the Ks.
I'm aware that 1 or 2 are 10 years, but I'm not sure which. And
usually I advise people to talk to the NIH program officer affiliated with that K, and like Dr. Fonseca said, get it in writing. But this has changed over the years, and it's not always very clear in the RFA either. So it seems like they leave some flexibility.
So what I'm hearing is if one is below 10 years post PhD, it counts for them for consideration.
That's for the K, not for us. We don't have any limits. It's the K. Now, if you are 12 years post, and I was reviewing your grant, I'd say this guy is not going to get anywhere with his doing this program. Why should I rank him high? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
We're not going to exclude you because of it's you or your project. We like you, we like your project, but you're not going to do anything useful with it. You're not going to meet the aims of the program, which is to train you to get a K when you're not eligible for a K.
And if you're ready for the RO1, because we do have that sometimes, that's a win too.
So you can say, I'm almost ready for an RO1, but I need some formal instructions and I need a little career development. That's why I'm applying. Wow, we'll take you. Get your RO1 in 2 years then.
That sounds great. Thank you.
I can see a consideration where you're maybe a bench researcher and that's cell molecular, and then you're doing animal research, and we'll talk about that in a second again. And maybe you're interested in the Roadmap Scholar to move into a clinical and translational, and that's despite your age and your number of years in research training. But again, the reviewers of these applications are sort of tuned in, and we make them aware of the fact that this program, has been, I guess, developed to try to help people get those K awards. But others have gotten RO1s instead, or DOD, right? So it all can happen. So it's not that we're excluding anybody. It's just, if you got more years to try to get the K award, well, that's better, and all that great stuff too. And another thing, Dr. Fonseca, maybe you might say a word or two about translational research emphasis, because on our website, you can go and look and you can see a number of people that have, actually our current ones and past ones who have done great projects, but you'll see some of them actually have done animal research. So I always get questions about that. You might want to add something.
They have, we want clinical and translational research. And if you're a PhD working in a lab, that's not easy. But you could partner and collaborate and apply what you're doing in the lab to patients. So at least 2 former Roadmap scholars have come to me and said, what do I do? I need some patient material, and so clinician promised it to me and didn't deliver. I have taken both of them under my wing. Mike made my clinic patients available. They've gone through the IRB process, got the informed consent, and had samples drawn from my patients to help them finish their project. That is possible. I would say you don't always rely on me. Get some clinician as a partner in the project. That will help you tremendously. There's one other resource that I'd like to mention. Look at the LA CaTS website. There are other cores in LA CaTS. There's a biostats core. They are available to help you. There's a health literacy core. They are available to help you communicate with people. We also have a very important core called CRR, Clinical Research Resources. I work with that one at Tulane as well. We have a clinical trials unit. If you are a Roadmap scholar, you have a clinical project that needs patient care, patient involvement, informed consent, the CRR will help you get all that done. So we have coordinators there. You don't have to seek funding from us for a coordinator. And this is the same at Pennington and the same at LSU. We all have our CRR cores and our clinical trials unit. They are there to help you.
Just for clarity, would secondary data analysis as well as a biobank serum sample qualify for translational?
I think biobank data samples are very, very welcome, very useful. Bioinformatics is something I'm very interested in. We collaborate. We have a bioinformatics core. NIH is promoting this a lot. But bear in mind that a lot of it tends to be retrospective. And when you're competing with people doing prospective research, you are at a disadvantage there unless you can find a way around it. Some very innovative things that can be done with EMRs today. And we have people doing that. And I'm involved with some projects like that. I think it's phenomenal. We have not leveraged this kind of resource before. We can do this now. You know, NIH is emphasizing that, and they've said it's causing a lot of concern, and Dan may want to comment on it. If you got a pure basic science grant, you have to show a pathway towards clinical translation, even if you're doing the basic science component. You know, this is what our program is about.
Lots of good questions here, or topics that we've discussed, but anybody else have any other
Yes,
thoughts?
Dr. Reed has one more question.
Okay.
I was wondering if projects that are grounded in implementation science frameworks are encouraged, specifically in the exploration and pre-implementation phase, which are going to be more qualitative focused, but with a clear path into a full-scale trial for a K award.
To me, that is translational science and population science. It counts, yes. We had one successful one from LSU a couple of years ago who was working on tobacco cessation programs, and he has implemented, he was terrific. I think he got an R01 so he was highly successful as a roadmap scholar, having not done any clinical work before.
Rachel knows him.
Tell him I said hello. I'm very proud of him.
Well, we're around for more questions if you have any. Anybody?
So let me be, just to show you how far away our applicants come from. We have Ileana on the call. I don't know if you can see her. She's currently in Bulgaria, has worked in the US before, went back to Bulgaria, and is now joining our faculty in endocrinology at Tulane.
Great.
So we'll take international applicants. Well, it's 2 minutes past 1, so we'll have another one of these in a few weeks. If you still have questions, you can attend that, but Michelle is always available to us. Enjoy the holidays.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Bye.